Well, believe it or not, you might as well not believe it, I am back, and so is Relaxing Painting with Dice and Dungeons. Yeah, it's gone for 2 weeks like I promised, and now those 2 weeks have passed, and here I am. Yep, and kind of tired. Hi, you old gem. It's nice to have somebody in chat. Yeah, I know it's been quite a while, and I know that people have kind of wandered away, but now it's time to come back. Is that elder or eldest? Maybe it's not eldest. Yeah, I know. It's been a while. And yeah, I'm kind of tired over the last 2 weeks. I think I've driven something like 1,400 miles and stayed in 4 different places. Thank you, you Ochem. Yeah, probably am, or pretty close to it. Anyway, yes, so if... I see, okay. Hi. Ooh, there's people joining in chat. This is really nice. Welcome back to Relaxing Painting with Dice and Dungeons. And I am actually... So it's just like going to be an insult fest this morning. I mean, I finally get back after 2 weeks of driving around and helping family and relatives and move stuff and, you know, take pieces of wooden platforms apart and all sorts of labor. And I get back and UOGEM just is like that. Okay, yes, so things are going to be a little slow today because I am kind of tired, but it is good to be back, and I will be painting Monday, Wednesday, and Friday this week, just like usual. Well, more or less usual. But next week, and I'll repeat this a couple of times, the schedule is going to change a little bit. It will be Tuesday, Wednesday, and Friday instead of Monday next week. So not next week Monday, but next week Tuesday, but this week Monday, which is what it is today. So I'm sort of remembering what I'm doing, very slowly coming around, and this thing, I think this was a bone dragon or something, I'm not sure what it was, that I was painting 2 weeks ago, and I don't like the way it looks, but it's supposed to look this way. And Nicole told me that it would look better if I put a bunch of gray wash on it to kind of tone it down a little bit and make it look a little bit more, maybe a little less clean looking and a little bit meaner looking. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to put a bunch of gray wash on this. And then I'm going to paint the base because, as you can see, the base got kind of messy. And I'm going to paint that black just to increase the contrast with the white and the red. So if I'm lucky, that will take the better part of, an hour and a half to do that. And then I'll be able to take a break and do something else. But I do have these imps. There's a whole pile of them here. Actually, there's a pile. No, I made them into a pile, literally. And Nicole painted one some time ago, and it looks really cool. Is it focus? Maybe not. It's got like beady yellow eyes and nasty looking teeth and all sorts of wonderful detail and shading and things on it that maybe I'll be able to do, maybe not. I don't know. I'm going to give it a try, and I'll see. Maybe I can get a couple of these done. Looks like this kind of brown and red combination looks pretty good. She did a really good job. I'm going to move this down a little bit. There. Did a really nice job with the shading. I think that was done with a wash. I don't know. I might try speed paints on some of these. Then I'll have to put on my head magnifiers in order to do the face, because yeah, this one is really nicely detailed. So I'm going to finish this one first by starting out with something really easy, like putting moss on it, and then moving to something more complicated, like painting the base. And then I won't have any more excuses. I'll be done with this, and I'll have to move on to something else, like some of these imps. The other thing I've got is a skull pile. You know, that might be kind of an interesting thing to have for the stream. But I'll try imps. Yeah, they are pretty small. So if you've been watching our D&D stream, well, that probably hasn't gone yet. Yeah, I think most of our minifigs are like, at least 50% taller than that. But they're pretty small. There isn't, except for the face, there isn't a lot of detail on this. The main challenge with these imps is just trying to get the shading right, like Mickey did with this one. I think I'll do the kind of browns and reds, maybe a little different red. Maybe I'll try like vermilion instead of scarlet red. Maybe I'll do kind of like a tan color. I'll get the color chart out and take a look when I get around to that. I've only wasted 10 minutes yet. Traditionally, kind of as who will. Yeah, I managed to set this up. Been away for a while, you know, so things aren't set up quite right. Anyway, as who would say, usually it takes me a half hour to find my brushes. I found them. I found some. Here's some brushes. But I will usually spend a lot of time for variegating and animated skulls. An animated pile of skulls. I wonder if those would be animated. The thing about these is it's really tempting to like paint them all the same sort of color. But I think if these were ever to be painted, that it would be they'd be different shades, like maybe ivory, they're bone white, which is kind of a tan sort of color. One or two really kind of aged ones, and then try to do some shading with a little bit of brown ink, you know, to make them look kind of weathered. Anyway, they could turn out to be looking really cool if they were done by a skilled painter. But that's not me. I think if I'll work on a couple of imps, but then there's this guy. This guy looks like he might be kind of fun to paint. So I think between now and Friday, I'm going to do some priming. See a bunch of things get printed. Yeah, there's kind of a knight-looking guy. Wooden floor, that's cool. Or is it cut stone? No, it's cut stone. Yeah, maybe wood planking, we can decide. There's a centaur. The centaur is very large. But that might be kind of interesting and fun to do. A little bit of a printing flaw. And then there's this. This is really interesting. I don't know quite what's going on here. It's got like little angel wings. But I don't know. I don't think it's divine. Maybe they're devil wings. I'll have to ask. I'm not sure quite what this thing is. So I probably won't paint that. But if we'll probably prime these guys, and then maybe on Friday work on like these. Anyway, we'll see. I haven't even wasted 15 minutes yet. Okay, well, in that case, I guess I'd better start doing something. Haven't spilled my coffee mug. That's an accomplishment. I'm not going to use the dark gray on this because that would really, it would just turn everything kind of really dark because it's supposed to be white. So we've got this gray wash, which doesn't have too much pigment in it. But if I let it puddle up in the nooks and crannies and crevices... No, I haven't done a flip. Thanks for joining in, Boo. And you came in just in time to see me actually start doing something more quickly than 30 minutes into the stream. I've been trying to, let everyone know that I'm really kind of tired from all the travel I've done in the last 2 weeks, moving from place to place. Friends and relatives, moving a bunch of boxes out of one relative's house into another one. There was some relaxing parts, in between moving things. Well, let's do the flip thing first before I start painting. Let's see. Never did fix this. Still kind of a brand name, but here we go. 1, 2, I didn't flip very well. 3, 4, 6 flips. Okay, well, we'll go back to stirring this wash. So while I was so far this coffee isn't really helping. I'm still feeling pretty sleepy. Okay, I'm going to use this large brush here because I want to make sure that this stuff is kind of spread around. A nice big puddle of wash there. There's a lot of surface area on this thing. Anyway, I'm going to start putting the gray wash on it, and hopefully it will have the effect that Nicole said that it should. Knows these things, and I'm not. Gray. It's graying some things up. I guess it looks, maybe it'll look better. We'll find out. Eventually it'll dry and pigment kind of mixed up in there. Thing is with this is just to make sure that it's everywhere, right? It doesn't need to be even, but it needs to be everywhere, because If there's spots without any on it at all, that'll be really obvious. Wings, and the point here is there's like all these veins on the wings. You can kind of see them. Is for this to stand out a little bit. See how this ends up looking. Gets little bubbles in it. Don't need bubbles. So, yeah. I could complain about the weather today a little bit. And we, like, almost Midwest. We went from, so the mid 80s, almost high 80s, right? Which was really unseasonably warm. But kind of nice. You know, it's kind of summery kind of weather in October, but then you know, the next pressure system came through and plummeted. So now our highs are only in the mid 50s. So the high temperatures dropped 30 degrees. And we haven't had our first frost here yet, but I think we're going to get really close to it this week. Oh. Yeah, that's right. Let's just say it, it's cold. Certainly colder than it had been. This is the color of, I'm not sure if it's really even darkness, you know. This light gray color is kind of the color of dimness. Dimness to whatever this is. I'll let that dry and then see. Used up what's in the well here. It does look a little better. I mean, it didn't add a lot of color to it, but it doesn't look so just starkly white like it did before. You get more in the tail, but maybe that's where I'll put some more on later, is down here in all these nooks and crannies in the tail. Okay, well, let's clean this off. We need to dry, and then I probably can just start working on the base here. Take these off and see if I can see close up today. So do you have any suggestions about what to ramble on about today? To talk about world events, it's like, but that, you see enough of that on the news. You don't need to hear about it here. It's not very relaxing. It's not very relaxing to talk about what's going on in the world right now, because it's just all sorts of nasty stuff. People going around just attacking and killing, especially civilians. Everybody's doing it. I don't think there's any. It's happening everywhere, on all the continents, just everywhere. So many places aren't safe now. But I don't want to talk about that because, like I said, you just turn on your television or whatever, or stream. Hi, new follower. Thanks for becoming a follower, and welcome to Relaxing Painting with Dice and Dungeons. Yeah, I've been away for 2 weeks. That really feels like a long time that I haven't been doing this, and it's a little bit hard to get going again. So I will apologize if things are moving even more slowly than the usual slow pace that they move at, because they usually move at a pretty slow pace here when I'm doing this. Oh, we got a little rave thing going. Let's see if I can make it go. Yeah, look at it. I know who likes that. Paint stirrer. But thanks for the follow. Really appreciate it. And it's good. It's kind of good to be back doing this. Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, more or less 10 till more or less 2, with a break in between that is always a little bit longer than I say it will be. So you might as well just anticipate that when I take a break somewhere between 11:30 and 12:30, start the break, I promise it will go on, probably for like 20 to 25 minutes, and it's always 35 or 40 minutes because, there's always something. There's always something to do other than relaxing painting with Dice and Dungeons. When it gets to be, it's not even 10:30 yet. Usually, if I'm good at what I'm doing, and what I mean by that is good at procrastinating and not getting on with the show, if I'm in one of those situations where I'm getting to be pretty good at that, I would just be barely starting to do any painting now. Started kind of early today, like almost on time. So this is going to be, I don't know, you might hear dogs barking in the background. We're having some work done on the house. This workshop being in the basement of a house. So we're having some work done on it, and that means that people will be kind of coming in and out, and every time they show up, the dogs are going to bark. I thinned this paint out because it was too thick to use, and I've used too much thinner. The stuff in the bottle cap. To do something. Can't really measure it. But the paint was getting too viscous to use. Maybe I'll just leave the cap off for a while. I mean, I'm painting with it, but maybe when I'm done with it, I'll just leave the cap off and let it evaporate. And then I can breathe the fumes but the paint will become more viscous again. I'm using the little brush here to paint around the feet, and then I'll use a larger brush to cover the rest of it. And take a look at it and make a decision about whether I want to So the thinner I used is supposed to be the thinner for this exact paint. You know, this brand and type of paint, the acrylic. It's weird, it's like it's not adhering. Got another bottle of this color or not. It's called NATO Black. And it's really a very, very dark gray. Okay. Which is kind of a nice color, because if you don't want like just pure black, you want it dark, but not pure black, but also not just one of the gray colors. It's kind of a nice in-between thing. It never really did behave. I have to say that even when it was a new bottle, it was, almost gelatinous. Can I describe it that way? Maybe you can kind of see what's happening there, is that either thick or thin. Either way, doesn't like it adheres to itself more than it adheres to the surface being painted. This will be if this color behaves at all, this will be a good color for the base. Oftentimes we'll do the base in like a gray or a green, but I think because this is so white, intentionally very white, it's because it's a bone thing, that having the base be a really dark color like this will mean that you don't really notice the base. It will just be like it's coming out of a shadow or something like that. At some point, I'm going to have to find something to just kind of ramble about. It's a part of the nature of the show. It's become, old guy rambling on about old things. I was with family for the last 2 weeks, and so we did, we had brothers and sisters, so we're not young anymore, and so we did a lot of reminiscing and stuff like that, but watched old TV, talk about that, black and white. We watched Perry Mason's. Perry Masons were always interesting. It was always exactly the same show each time. There was some sort of crime, and Perry Mason was an attorney who took on the case of the falsely accused. That's always what it was, Perry Mason was the attorney for the falsely accused. And then I don't know who paid his bills, because he had a bunch of people on staff, and they were like private investigators, and so, interesting, these shows. because it was, if you thought about it, it was almost like an indictment of the police, right? Back then, everybody was supposed to be pro-police, but they always got it wrong. I mean, always. Otherwise, it wouldn't be a Perry Mason show where he's defending the falsely accused if they were, in fact, rightly accused. So that means that every single show, the police got it wrong. And then the poor prosecuting attorney always lost, which tells you something about public servants, I guess. So you know, when you think about it, thinking about it, really, it wasn't a very civic-minded show, because the police always ended up getting the wrong person, which is why Perry Mason had to defend them. And the prosecutor always lost. All these well-meaning public servants turned out to be incompetent. Anyway, so Perry Mason's this attorney who is defending the falsely accused. And then you've got these people who go around investigating. And, you know, this is something that you just wouldn't see in real life, but in every show, I mean, I could talk about the trip, but that would just be talking about family stuff. I mean, I could talk about what we did without, getting too personal about stuff. I could do that. But I'm talking about Perry Mason first. Because, so Perry Mason is defending whoever. And then they do this investigation in the background that apparently the police failed to do and the prosecutor didn't know about. So there's all this evidence that they get. And then if you think about this, it just stops really making sense. So this TV show just doesn't work if you think. The way it works, the way it played out, every single one, is that the real guilty party, not the falsely accused one, because Perry Mason always wins, but the real guilty party, for some reason, is on the witness stand. So if you know you're guilty of this thing and there's a falsely accused person, maybe they're trying to frame that person, maybe it's just incompetence on the part of the public servants. Either way, the guilty party is on the stand. And right there in open court, no subpoenas, no Miranda rights. Right there in open court, right on the stand, Perry Mason gets a confession. But the show is pretty formulaic in that you knew that there was going to be a confession on the witness stand of the real guilty party, who for some reason is testifying under oath. Why would you do that? And things going on in the courtroom. Did you ever watch the show? Apparently the people in the courtroom never watch the show. Ever, because they're always surprised. They're always surprised when the real guilty party is revealed during their testimony. Fixing toenails there. you know, it was always kind of fun to watch these, even though, I mean, you didn't know who. It was always a whodunit, but you knew it wasn't the person that Perry Mason was defending. That's all you knew. So there were all these other suspects. Sometimes, you know, they made it really dramatic, like they were almost in their final arguments, and then Perry Mason's assistant, I don't know if they were a licensed private detective or not. I don't know. You know, comes rushing into the courtroom. You had to rush in at the courtroom. Perry Mason would ask for a brief recess, and then they'd confer, hand over an envelope of evidence or something, and Perry Mason would call somebody to the witness stand and coerce a confession without any Miranda rights stuff. I guess we never knew in one episode to the next, you know, for sure whether or not the person who confessed was actually convicted of the crime, or that really should require another trial, whether or not they confessed on the witness stand or not. I don't know, and maybe Perry Mason could defend them, really cash in on these crimes. Perry Mason made like an error. Yeah, you confessed falsely to this crime. I'm going to defend you now, and we'll just chain this sort of thing right along and nail somebody else for the crime. Yeah, it is like Phoenix, right, when you think about it. Same thing happens, is that you know, you get a trial going on. The judge is always interesting in Phoenix, right? Bushes. You get this one happened too. The lose their coherence and they start curling out all over the place, and they should come to a nice point, especially when they're wet. So anyway, yeah, thinking about Perry Mason, but the main lesson we learned from Perry Mason is the failure of the public justice system. You know, the wrong person goes on trial, and the prosecutor always loses. It's really kind of sad when you really think about it. And this was back in the day when people were really kind of pro-police, and you know, in sort of a general way. Yeah, well, so there was some reminiscing about that, and enjoying the shows, and the trying to guess who really did it, and how they're going to get them to confess on the stand, but that undertone. I'm going to put more gray wash on this. I think it helped. It looks it doesn't look so bright white anymore. But I think it could use a little bit more. So, you know, it's a good way to, you know, spend a little bit more time doing something that's more or less relaxing. You can see that that's kind of a nice matte black color once it dries. And it looks like it's leveling pretty nicely too. It was giving the impression of kind of building up in spots, but as it dries, it seems to be leveling out pretty nicely. It's okay if it's a little lumpy. I mean, I think that would be all right. But what I was trying to get here was that the base would essentially just kind of disappear, and you wouldn't even notice it, given the stark bicolor, just two colors, white and red, of whatever this is, bone dragon or something. So I put some more of this gray wash on it, especially like on the feet and things. There's some spots that really should be show the texture of the model a little more. There's a lot of texturing in this. It's showing the musculature and the boniness of the rib cage here. Get a little darker down at the base of the wings. Anyway, yeah. I mean, I just have to say that never thought about it at the time while we were watching Perry Mason. Really kind of a dark perspective on the system at the time. Just didn't come. I wonder if they thought about that when they were doing it. Or, they were just doing a mystery, right? Or a whodunit, not a mystery so much, but a whodunit thing, right? So they had to do that. They had to defend an innocent party, otherwise he wouldn't be doing the Perry Mason idiom. But were they really thinking about what that was saying about the system in which they were working? I bet they weren't. Just weren't thinking about what they were really saying about things. Oh, that's right. They've made new Perry Masons, haven't they? The ones we were talking about were the old black and white ones with, what was his name? Raymond Burr? It's not the newer ones. The new ones still do the same sort of thing, but these were half-hour black and white shows, and it was all very formulaic. The only suspense, there were 2 points of suspense in Perry Mason's, and that is, who really did it. There was always the question of who really done it, but also, like, when would they reveal? And sometimes it would just come really late in the game. Like I was saying, you get into like final arguments, and finally the incriminating piece of evidence would be delivered to the courtroom. Okay, well, I guess it looks better with the gray on it. Some bright spots. It's weird. I like it. Anyway, yeah, it looks better with the gray wash on it, I have to admit. Especially here, you know, some of the bony structure and muscular structure and stuff. All right, so I'm just going to set that aside. Thank you. I'm glad you like it. I can even show it to you. You know, like underneath there, the shading I think kind of works pretty well. See the rib cage. Its face is all distorted. There's not much that can be done about that. It's just kind of a skull face. You know, and I'm glad I picked the black for the base. It just any other color wouldn't have worked really well. Yeah, so there's whatever this is. This is, I'm going to declare it done for now. Set it someplace where I'm unlikely to knock it over. Okay, what am I left with? I am left with a bunch of imps. I got 6 imps here that are not painted and 1 that is. And these colors are right here. So I'm just going to use these colors and basically replicate what this is that this sort of, which will turn out to be kind of a brownish, tannish kind of color, goes on the inside of the wings and the outside of the wings like that. And then the red color, which will be much brighter than this, at least initially, goes all around it. I'm going to paint right over the face, and I'll do the facial details later, like the eyes and the teeth. And then I need a color for the tail. This was a nice purple color. Can I mess up one of these imps? I'm not sure. Here, I'll grab this color. It's a much lighter color, so the tail's going to be lighter than darker. So I'm going to try to do the same thing. I'm going to start by painting the insides of the wings, okay, and then the back, and then the red goes around the edges of the wings, kind of like ribbing, and on the body. And then the tail gets painted as another color, and then the whole thing is just washed. And it looks like this was done maybe brown. It might have been done in a dark brown wash. That's probably what I'll end up trying. And then this, like the horns and the face and things, can come later. That's what I'm going to try anyway. So we'll see how this ends up. If it ends up poorly, which it could, it's always that possibility, then it'll either get tossed or repainted, or I mean, it could even just be reprimed and started over. What color this base was done in? Is this like the original? It's almost the original color. You get all those little toenails and stuff so Yeah. I don't know. I think it's very light gray. Well, okay. Need to get started. Can't finish until you get started. An alarm going off or something? My phone down so I could watch the time, and now it's ringing for a reason. I don't know if it's a good reason or not. Okay, well, I'm going to try this brush, despite the fact that its bristles are bristling. Cut those off. Otherwise, they start bristling off to the side, and then all I end up doing is getting, they catch the paint, right? And then spread it all over the place so I don't. This is a fairly expensive brush too, but these brushes just keep losing their coherence. I'm not sure if I'm cleaning them poorly or if out there has any ideas about why the bristles on these brushes lose their coherence and start poking out all over the place instead of staying on point. Please feel free to share, because I'm finding it pretty frustrating. You have brushes that do that. There's a couple of bristles I'm just trying to make them disappear. Could see them against the brown of the cardboard. It's my high-tech work surface here. It's a good way to waste time anyway. Okay, well, we'll try this anyway. I don't know how this color combination is going to work, but we'll find out. So just using this color combination, which is going to be a little lighter. All the colors will be lighter than the ones here, but the same sort of categories. And then I'm going to use a brown wash on it to shade it all. And then it looks like the base will just be painted a light gray color. Wow. Yeah, and that's going to be kind of a pain to do. Considering the size, this is a really kind of intricate in terms of detail. For some reason, the paint decided to just come flying out of there. Right, so I'm looking at this as a model, and the back of the wings, okay, the backs of the wings and up into the body here are painted the browner color, and then on this side, the insides of the wings also, and then the red is painted brush, you know, you get paint on it, and the paint is supposed to hold the bristles together, and it's actually just falling apart almost. The bristles are just jumping out all over the place. I do not know what's going on with it, but it's not behaving at all. I'm not going to be able to use this with the red detail. I mean, it's okay for this because a lot of this will get painted over when I put the red on, but wow. I expected when I put the paint on it that it would kind of coalesce, you know. I mean, no, that's not the right word, but cohere. I think the base of this is going to be a challenge with all these little nooks and crannies. Crannies, not crannies. Did I say crannies? Is it going to be that sort of day where I say crannies instead of crannies? Maybe it will. Stay tuned for your crannies. Okay, I can safely predict that just when the base coat is put on here before it's washed, that this is going to look not going to look really good. That the colors, you won't like the colors. But I think that the wash will change it sufficiently so that it will look okay. I keep referring back to the original here. Get a sense of where the colors go. So as I'm painting this, keep in mind that the outside edges of the wings and the inside kind of veining, those are going to get painted a different color. And this, when this was washed, it really blended the colors together pretty well. We'll see. We'll see if that happens with these, or whether the colors are too different to be, and ended up being contrasty rather than complementary. Yeah, well, so that was the story about Perry Mason, because, well, I was together with the family, helping them move stuff from one place to the other. I did get a lot of bending and lifting in. That was exercise. I mean, it wasn't really like exercising. It was just lifting boxes and hauling them around and stacking them up. It was that kind of exercise, which was still something. It's better than just sitting around like we were sitting around watching Perry Mason, and not at the time really thinking about the indictment that Perry Mason made of the public justice system. I mean, even when we were watching the originals when I was much younger, that just never came up as an issue. Kind of surprising that we didn't step back and say, how is it? How is it that Perry Mason is always defending the innocent? Why are the innocent being prosecuted to begin with? What's up with that? Yep, anyway, that's the lesson today. Okay. So there's that. It looks like I got the base coat on there pretty well. And it's starting to dry okay. It needs to dry pretty well before I can put the other base coat on. The red. The tail. I could do the tail next. That doesn't come in contact with that color very much. Yeah, this is definitely going to have to get some dark wash on it. And I think the brown would work better than the dark gray for this. Keep trying this brush. We'll see. See if it behaves any better with this paint. Yeah, the bristles just started splaying out instead of coming to a coherent point. You think our D&D Midnight Brunch? I should talk about our Dungeons and Dragons campaign, shouldn't I? Since I'm sitting here running out of things to say about Perry Mason and the lessons that it was teaching us subliminally. It never really said it explicitly because it was just the way the show worked all the time. We never really, growing up, never really thought about what it was saying about our police force and prosecutors. Say for war crimes? No, I can't. You know what we're going to get tried for? What's going to happen is that Nines is going to get caught stealing a pie. And the whole group of us, as co-conspirators, are going to go on trial for pie theft. And you would think that that would be a pretty trivial sort of thing, but there's probably a place in Alexis's world. There's probably some sort of little niche town that we're going to end up in for who knows what reason. Yeah. Okay, it was interesting noises. So we end up in this place for some reason that doesn't make any, it doesn't matter, but it's just, we end up there. Maybe we get a job with the company of Blades. They send us to this place. And the thing about this place is that pie theft is like the worst thing that can possibly happen. No, it's like a Star Trek episode. Everybody knows that one. You know, where Wesley decide they're playing catch or something on this planet where everybody's running around and they're scantily clothed. And you go, why? I don't know, because that's just what it is. Nobody walks anywhere. Everybody's always running. Okay. It's just what they do. They run around and they're playing some sort of ball game or catch game or whatever. Like frisbee toss, we'll just call it that. And it ends up in a flower bed, and Wesley goes in to get it and, steps on the flowers. Even though there was a sign in a language he couldn't read, or I guess, I don't know, that said, don't go here, forbidden. If your ball lands here, it's like the ball landing in the grumpy neighbor's yard. It's like that ball's gone forever. You try to retrieve it, and you might as well just sign your death warrant, because the guy who lives there is scary, really scary kind of thing. Anyway, it's that kind of thing. The thing they were playing with just is lost forever because it landed in the forbidden zone. So what's the punishment for stepping on the flowers? Well, it's death. The punishment for every transgression is death. That's why there's no transgressions in this, whatever it is, place where they are, because, everybody knows if you do something wrong, they'll just kill you off. Why? Why not? It's what we do here. Got some of this there. Look at that. See, that's the kind of thing that always happens. That was an oops. I don't have my oops button, but that was one of those oopses where I just bumped the brush in some places where it shouldn't have gone. Now I need to do touch up with this beige paint. Anyway, where was I going with this? Oh yeah. So what's going to happen is that the Company of Blaze will send us to this remote village or town or something to do some trivial thing. We'll get paid maybe 30 gold for it, because we never get paid nearly what we should get paid. Certainly not as much as the Saltworthy gets paid for doing even sillier and more worthless things. But so we'll go there, and it turns out that pie stealing is like the highest crime. There isn't anything worse in this little village than pie stealing, but Nines can't help himself and wants to do a big boy crime. Good grief. From one touch to the other touch to the other touch. And I shouldn't be painting wet paint over wet paint, but I'm impatient right now. And kind of ticked off a little bit about how this is going. So I'm just going to do this is not what you should do. Okay? When you're iterating back and forth between colors, touching up the mess that you made with the other color, you should wait for it to dry. But I got away with it. But in this scenario, in our Dice and Dungeons campaign, we don't get away with it. And we get arrested en masse, even though it was Nines who just couldn't keep from stealing the pie, because for some reason Nines thinks that that's the biggest, boyest of crimes. Exactly. And it's the worst offense that can happen in this particular place. And so we get put on trial, just like Wesley was, for stepping on the flowers to retrieve the frisbee or whatever was in that episode. So So there. That's why we will be put on trial. Oh, and who would defend us? I don't know. Maybe it turns out that Ardamore is our otter, our sentient otter. Maybe Ardamore would actually be appointed counsel. And I don't want to give away the plot twist, but this will never happen, really. So I probably can. Ardamore actually gets us off because he's so cute. And this particular culture, even though they really defend their pies, okay, I mean, they really, really protect their pies. More than anything is susceptible to cuteness. And so Ardamore gets us off. Doesn't really make any good legal arguments. I mean, he's an otter, right? Thank you for following. Really appreciate it. And yeah, and for redeeming points. So thanks, and thanks for joining Relaxing Painting with Dice and Dungeons. So I was talking about Dice and Dungeons. We have a campaign that has been going on for over a year now. That's how this relaxing painting thing really got started, is painting minifigs like this one. Okay. This is the one that Nicole did, so it's good, well done. This is the one I'm doing, so it won't be that well done. We'll see. It might be adequate. We'll see how it turns out. So we started painting minifigs and dungeon tiles, and maybe before the break, because you never know, people might not hang on through the break. Maybe before the break, like in about a half hour or so, I'll show you a sample of the dungeon tiles that we do, because they're really cool. So, for some reason, I guess it was a good reason, I'm not sure, our DM said, well, if we're going to be painting these things, we're going to be painting the minifigs and the dungeon tiles, why not stream that too? And I thought that was kind of a dumb idea. And because I thought it was a dumb idea, I'm the one who ended up having to do it. That isn't really the reason, but Nicole and I did this together for a while because we had a lot of dungeon tiles that we needed to get done for the show. Okay, and so for the stream, and so we were painting them together just to make sure they got done, and eventually it ended up being mostly me because Nicole has other things to do during the week and I'm retired, and because I'm retired, everybody else who was a member of Dice and Dungeons figured you don't have anything else to do, you might as well do the painting stream. I'm definitely not doing the painting stream because of my talent or because I have anything interesting to say, but I do the painting stream because I am retired and apparently have no excuses for doing anything other than this. Anyway, so Dice and Dungeons. So Dice and Dungeons is primarily not a painting stream, but a Dungeons and Dragons campaign that streams on Twitch 3 Sundays a month at 2, and is also available on YouTube and as a podcast. And you say, how can it be done as a podcast? And I say, because somebody's talking all the time. Usually our Tabaxi Bard is the one who's just talking all the time. You know, how can you keep a bard quiet? You can't. So the bard, fills in sometimes my character talks. I play a furball fighter, and the other member of our party is Nicole, who is the talented painter who plays a changeling druid. And we are sometimes accompanied by NPC characters. Oh, good grief. Yeah, I was trying to be careful, and I'm going to have to touch that up before I wash. I just got some paint on, not this color, but the other color that I don't want this color to be this color. Now it has a spot on it because the brush slipped. And I can rack that up to two things. One is I'm really kind of tired after doing all the traveling I did over the last 2 weeks instead of doing relaxing painting. In this case, because of all the traveling, the relaxing painting would have been, in fact, relaxing compared to most of what I was doing. But I digress, which happens almost all the time during the stream. What am I painting? I'm painting an imp. This is one that was done previously, and that's what it ends up looking like when it's been washed, which gives it some, it tones the colors way down. These colors are much brighter than the ones on there, so I'm hoping, well, it'll get a fairly heavy dark brown wash. And I think that will, and it usually does, tone the colors down and helps them blend together a little bit. So I've got 6 of these that I'm supposed to end up painting, not necessarily all in the same color scheme, but they're supposed to look impy, so they're supposed to look like kind of dark colors. Anyway, we'll see how they turn out. Yeah, so I'm using this little fine pointed brush, which is mostly working. I've only made one oops so far, to get the edges here. And then I'll use probably a slightly bigger brush to get the rest of the body painted. There's just all sorts of nooks and crannies. It looks like a simple model. Really a pain to paint, to be honest. For me anyway, it's being a pain to paint. There's so many places that you need to reach into and try not to get the paint on someplace else, another part of it. Anyway, this is going to look, the colors are going to look real vibrant and not imp-like at all. And usually, and hopefully that will be the case here, the wash that goes on later will make them tone down quite a lot. Anyway, Dice and Dungeons, yes, the campaign that goes on and is streamed on Twitch on Sundays. And you all need to go watch those, especially catch up on some of the older episodes by checking them out on YouTube. That would be great. And I got started talking about that because who said that Midnight Brunch, which is the name of our group in the stream. Why Midnight Brunch? Midnight Brunch because what we're doing is we're eating almost all the time. The group is very food-centered, food-focused. it's an important part of what we do. Is whenever we go to a new place, we're always checking out what's the food du jour. And sometimes it's pizza, sometimes it's calzone, sometimes, if we're lucky, it's pretzels. There's a whole backstory to the pursuit of the perfect pretzel, because the group wants to have a pretzel day. Have a pretzel day. Yeah, that was the greeting of one of the pretzel vendors, have a pretzel day. And sometimes we do. Sometimes we're lucky enough to get like the perfect pretzel and we have a pretzel day. Oh, wow, this thing is really a pain to get to. I'm going to have to use this little brush on like everything, because just reaching in, paint all the spots one can hardly see. Whoever picked this to print, I bet it was probably Alexis. I mean, they're really cute imps, kind of. But wow, what a pain to paint. Almost tempting to just get out the jar of the bottle of speed paint and say, I'm just going to splot the speed paint all over everything, and that's the way it's going to be. In to get all these little bits and pieces of nooks and crannies is just less fun than it looks. Did I digress again? Was I talking about Dice and Dungeons? I was talking about Dice and Dungeons because who is the person who plays our Tabaxi Bard decided that we were going to be on trial someday, and it was like, what would be on trial for? And we would be on trial for the crime that who tends to commit, which is stealing pies. Now, you would think that would be a trivial sort of thing, but in the scenario that I was describing, it turns out to be the most heinous crime that could possibly be committed in this little place that we are sent to by the Company of Blaze, which is the group for whom we are mercenaries. Okay. So why we are sent there, why pie stealing is like the worst crime that be committed, why all of that, I'm going to leave that up to the DM to explain, if it's ever explained at all. And it might not be. Sometimes things just are that way. You know, I mean, you've all seen these kind of like horror movies where you go to a place and they just have these arbitrary and kind of bizarre little rules that make no sense but get you into trouble. Kind of like Wesley did on the Star Trek episode that I was referring to earlier, which was where he was going to be executed for stepping on some flowers. Anyway, Yeah, so Midnight Brunch is going to be executed, all of us, because in this particular place, if one of your party is guilty, everybody's guilty. Why? Why not? It's just the way it is. It's the way it is in this place. Yeah, so Midnight Brunch is put on trial because Nines stole a pie and we're being threatened with execution. And why did all of this come about? Because I was talking about Perry Mason, who would come and defend the innocent. And, Alexis probably won't have Perry Mason. Oh, figures. Sorry, I wasn't paying attention to chat. I was just going on and on and on. These we print ourselves. We have the dungeon tiles are done on the PLA printers like the ones behind me. And the figures are done on a rosin printer in a room across the hall that way. And I am not sure where Alexis gets the designs, online somewhere. They're all they're all permitted for kind of quasi-commercial use so that we're allowed to use them in our stream. She makes sure that that's always the case. But we print our own figures now, which gives us a lot of variety of things that we can do. And I'm guessing that we've got 7 imps, because at some point the party is going to run into a huge pile of imps. And I actually made these a pile a while ago. So no. The pie stealing and the painting are not related. Huh. Hypotheticals. Our D&D party is no, I'm just painting these imps because I'm painting the imps and I don't know why. But you came in a little later. I was talking about the Perry Mason show and how Perry Mason always protects the innocent. And then one of our party who plays Nines, the Tabaxi Bard, said that it would be interesting if our party members were accused of a crime and were prosecuted. So it was a purely hypothetical about what kind of crime would be committed. Not able to. Boy, my eyes are really out of focus today at a distance. Is there a name for a group of imps? I do not know. You'll have to look that up. I'm sure that there is. There has to be, right? Like a blurb of imps, or a pile of imps, or a group of imps, or a, just like murder of crows or a pod of whales, right? There has to be something for imps. Anyway, this stream started because minifigs get painted for the show, as do dungeon tiles, which I'll show you after I get the red on this guy, because the dungeon tiles are really, really cool. They are actually pretty amazing, and everybody should want them. Someday we might even attempt to sell them because they are so cool. But for now, this whole stream started because our DMs thought, since they're painting this stuff anyway, we might as well stream the painting, and that's how this all got started. Now, the conversation about stealing pies was a purely hypothetical situation that may or may not, probably not, ever happen to our party, because I was talking about Perry Mason, because on this stream, I just ramble on about stuff. Usually old stuff from, being old. In this particular case, it was Perry Mason, who protects the innocent. Was Midnight Brunch innocent of pie stealing? No. So it's not like Perry Mason at all. But how do we keep from being executed? And I was saying that we have this sentient otter. The otter was awakened by our druid. I'm just going to leave that red. Hoping what happened then, of course, is that the otter, who has no legal training whatsoever, does not know how to make any kind of legal arguments, gets us off the hook. In this case, I think it should be literally a hook, that we should be hooked, by our collars or something, so that we can get off the hook. My character, also, Ralph, is very good at literalisms. We get off the hook because the otter is so cute. And cuteness is highly valued by this hypothetical group of people in this village where pie stealing is the high crime. The story that has nothing at all to do with the actual campaign or with painting, but it fills the time. But in our real campaign, not the hypothetical one that I'm blathering on about here, but in the campaign as it's actually being played out, we are called Midnight Brunch, which is kind of an odd name, you would think, but it fits us because we spend a lot of time eating as characters. Our characters spend a lot of time searching for and eating food. As players, we have yet ever, this has been going on for over a year, and this is almost like D&D heresy. It really is we have not ever eaten anything on stream. I keep wondering about that, because D&D players are known for their consumption of snacks, but as players, we've not done that, and probably won't. At some point, when you've gone on for, like we have, about 100 episodes, really, it's been that much, and you can watch them all on YouTube. You can go catch them. We've not ever had a snack on stream. But we're called Midnight Brunch because we are food-centric, and we took the name on in a place that was nocturnal. And we would have brunch at midnight, because that's when it was served. Because it's kind of a silly name, and it just seemed to fit the kind of characters that we were and still are. But it would be really cool if anybody who watches this stream would also check out our D&D campaign. And the easiest way to do that, if you can't catch the 2 o'clock Sunday with the live chat is just check us out on YouTube, because all of the episodes, every single one of them, is from the very, very beginning, is available. And if you watch some of the early ones, you'll see just, you'll see it, the show evolving, the characters evolve, and the production value certainly does. We started out with a very minimalist kind of studio, and it was during COVID, and 2 of our character players were actually remote, not in the studio. And so we got to do that through, if it was Zoom or something like that. One of those proprietary software programs that allows you to do things together as a group online. Anyway, I think you might enjoy them. And if you don't want to go back all the way to the beginning, just check out some of the more recent ones. And our campaign takes us all sorts of places. We do dungeon crawls, often in sewers or caves. We have had battles in warehouses. Just going around this to see. Yeah, there's a little bit of touching up I need to do with that beige color. Just in a couple of places. It's mostly painted though. Got missed too many spots. Not missing spots is the important thing here. And then it looks kind of cartoonish right now with the colors, but I'm thinking that once I put the wash on it, the brown wash, that it will look more like this than less like this. I mean, the base colors will be different. And then I'll paint the little horns. Well, these are ears, okay. It's noticing that these guys here are not horns, they're ears. So they need to be painted the body color, because, their ears are part of the body. Horns are too, but not in the same way. See that when Nikki painted this, it was like, I'm not going to paint the base. I need to get a little bit of gray paint there. It's easier to paint the toes like this and not try to paint the base, because that's just like next to impossible. And I did okay, except for that one spot. And that's the primer color. So I'm going to have to, maybe the dark gray will come close enough to matching it that you'll notice it. Okay, let me do that. And then I'm going to get out the beige color again, just to do some tiny points of touch up. I'm going to paint the face and the horns after I do the wash. Okay. And then the horns were painted gray on this one, so I'll probably do the same. Okay, here's the flat flesh. Well, I want to thank the followers who joined today. And I hope you're still watching, because I do want to show you the dungeon tiles, which will be coming out in a few minutes as soon as I do these little bits of touch-up. As soon as I do these dots of touch-up, I'll be showing you a sample of how the dungeon tiles work. And someday, I'm not sure when, but someday, we might actually be painting dungeon tiles again. The last set of dungeon tiles that were painted were sewer tiles. And if you check out our D&D campaign, you can see the sewer tiles in use, because we did spend a fair amount of time in the sewers recently, and those tiles were used to create the sewer dungeon that we were crawling around in. I got some on the blue there. Back and forth with the paint, see if there's blue, if there's any left. I just need the smallest little dot to fix that spot. Okay, so the base coat on this is starting to look okay. I mean, the coat is based in the right places. Let's put it that way. Okay. The places that should be red are red. The places that should be brown are brown. The tail is painted the tail color. Oh, I need to put a little bit here. Need is some of the primer color, but I don't want to just get the spray can of primer out and make a puddle of it. So I'm going to attempt to use this dark gray, okay, because what I was doing when I first started this is I thought I would be painting the base, but as I kept painting it, I came to understand why Nicole did what she did in terms of not painting the base at all, because it's next to impossible to paint, and I wasn't careful back here. And this might not match perfectly, but it should come close enough so that it won't be obviously a problem. And if I do more of these, which I probably will, because there's like, what, 5 more of them. We'll see how this one turns out. Be careful and not get paint on the base, because it just can't paint it. So it has to stay the primer color. And I have to be careful not to get, like I did on the feet. I got those I had the feet pretty well. Okay, well, the main issue there, that's separated from the rest, so that should look okay. The neutral gray might work a little better. I'm going to show you the dungeon tiles in just a second, but before I do, check colors. I need to check colors here. This is a neutral gray, which is a lighter gray, and I want to see if it matches the primer color better. And the way I'm going to do that is just put a touch of it on here. Tail. Be seen, and we'll see how that looks when it dries. It might blend better with the primer color, and if it does, then and there's a dark spot back here. Now, it's pretty obvious that it needs to be this color. Yeah, this is a pretty good match. The dark gray wasn't. It looks a little lighter when I first put it on, but I noticed that this color gets a little darker as it dries. Okay, so it's good to know. Made a mistake, and I can correct it. All right. Almost break time. So I'm going to try to clean this brush without hurting it. So far, it's been serving me quite well. Do 2 things now. 3 things. Put this brush away. I'll be using that again later for base coating another imp. This one for detail. Oh my, is that paint in there? That's paint in the bristles. That's the color of the bristles. We'll find out later. So this was painted and then washed. This is painted so you could see that it's just really bright, okay, and needs some darkening and blending. So I'm going to be using a dark brown wash on it and just washing the whole thing that way and trying not to get it all over the base, okay, where it needs to be touched up later. And then I'm going to paint the horns and the tips like that, and then try to paint the face so that it looks impy like this one. And I'll be doing that with a tiny little brush, and I'll be probably putting my head magnifiers on so I can see what I'm doing. But I want to make this one look more like this one after the break. But before the break, as promised, I'm going to show you a sample of our dungeon tiles. Yeah, the stats in D&D, and who can help with this too, is most the people we know who play, or the way we play it, is that we roll die, and we roll, I think, D6s. So you can get anywhere from like 4 to 20, right? And as a set of, excuse me, just sleepy here. So I'm trying to remember how we did this. I think we roll up to 18. I think we roll 4 D6s, and we toss out the lowest one, because I mean you could end up just getting 4, which can happen. We do that for each of the stats, and that gives us one set of numbers. Okay, before they're assigned to stats, we roll that. I think there's 6 stats, so we roll 6 sets of 4, throwing out the lowest one, and that gives us a set of 6 numbers, and we come up with 3 sets, which is we think a little more fair than just saying you just do it once and you're stuck with it. And then the player picks which of those 3 sets they want to work with. I mean, if they're real lucky, one set will all be like 15, 16, 17, 18. Usually that's not the case. Usually you've got like an 8 and a 12 and a 15 and one 18 or something. Sometimes they're all single digits. You throw that one out for sure, unless you really want to play a very, very weak level 1 character. So we roll the 4, throw out the lowest of each one, so you've got a set of 6 numbers, 3 sets of 6 numbers. You pick one of the sets, and then assign each of those numbers to one of the characteristics. I mean, it sounds a little complicated to say it, but in doing it, it's really pretty easy, and we like rolling dice, so that's how we've been setting up our characters. There are programs, I'll just mention one because everybody knows D&D Beyond, where you can do a random character generator, and it does that for you, and you just have to live with what you get or just start over. But this gives us some discretion, and gives us the opportunity to not have just a really horrible character. So my character, I had like 2 rolls of 18, and I think one of them is even an 8. So I had like a -1 modifier to one of my characteristics. Yeah, Beyond is really, it's just really good. We use it all the time still. I think regardless of whether you're new at it or old at it, it's a really good way to keep track of your inventory and your characteristics. We don't use it for dice rolls. We do a live dice roll on a dice tray because, it's a stream and it's fun to do that. And then everybody can look at your die roll and see that you got a 2 or a 3, because my character rolls 3s a lot. Especially in critical situations. I do get nat 20s, usually for something that's totally pointless and worthless, like trying to pry open a gate that doesn't go anywhere. But we've had situations, where you just do die rolls you roll 3 die 6 times, and you just end up with a horrible mess, and the character's essentially unplayable. And so that's why we went to the tossing out the lowest, so that the stats are high enough so that you can actually play your character, or at least the DM can help set up situations where you're not just running into one rat all the time because everybody is so weak and dumb. Anyway, yeah, so my character's charisma is like -1 stat modifier. Not very persuasive. Because I'm a Furbog fighter, I put my 18s into strength just for combat effectiveness and for hit points so that I stay alive. Well, let me show you these in a few minutes before break. These are an example, just samples of some of the dungeon tiles. These are rough stone. Okay. We also have cut stone so that they look more like bricks, and these tiles are square and flat. And we have some wood ones, and the wood has turned out really pretty. The printing gives it a really nice grain, and when we wash it, the grain highlights, and the walls are stucco with wood beams around them. And I keep saying I should pull some out to show them on this stream, and one of these days I'll actually remember to do that. But being way past retirement age, remembering things sometimes takes more than one effort. Anyway, these are printed on our 3D printers back here, PLA, and they are essentially one piece. The floor and the walls are one solid piece. Okay, so they're very, very sturdy. You can't break them apart. And on the bottom, this plate hides ball magnets. There's tiny little ball magnets, 2 in each corner. And what those mean is that they stick to each other. So unlike some magnetized dungeon tiles where you have to put them on a metal, iron, some sort of steel or iron plate. Did you really look that up, or did you just make that up, Shy Guy? So you don't have to put these on a plate, because it isn't that they stick to the base, they stick to each other. Then because they're ball magnets, they rotate, and you can just rearrange these any way you want, and they hold. And that means that if you get a set of these tiles, you can put together a tiny dungeon like this, a hallway like that, if you only got 4 of them. But if you've got maybe like 50 of them, you could put together a really elaborate passageway. And you can see some of the set pieces, like there's a lair, like a necromancy lair there. There are corners, there are rounded corners, all sorts of really cool things. There are operating doors. Someday I'm going to just do a demo of all of these things. There are doors that open and close. And so when you put together the dungeon using these dungeon tiles, not only do they hold and can be rearranged any way you want, which gives you infinite possibilities if you got a set of these tiles. You know, I should just get a bunch of these tiles out that are finished. There's boxes of them around here, and I should just show how we do that. Probably I wouldn't do it at the end because people stop watching at the end, but I'd like them to see this, so I might just do that, like, instead of painting sometime, right? Show off the dungeon tiles. Yeah, so these are really cool, and you can see some of the things that we've made in the little changing, whatever you call the crawl or something that's under me in the stream here. But yeah, we started with some, and our DM modified the plans, and we got the ball magnet things in here, and they're really amazing. And this stream started the necromancer would be probably maybe a sorcerer, but I think you can, with, you know, if you're doing a character build, I think it's possible to actually create a necromancer as a character, a playable character. Who do you know? Do you know if you can build a necromancer? Probably, yeah, a lawful good necromancer, right? That would be different. That's one thing we found, is that sometimes a chaotic character is not too bad. Nines isn't, I think, officially a chaotic character, but sometimes does very chaotic things. Tabaxi Bard. But like neutral, chaotic neutral, that kind of thing, even chaotic good can be a lot of fun. But evil characters are really hard to play in a group, you know, because they're, you know, oftentimes your group has to stick together to get through whatever you're getting through, and an evil character will get the group killed, or at least somebody in the group killed. But you could have a not evil necromancer. So I don't know if who is paying attention, or maybe Shy Guy knows too, whether you can do a necromancy build. Okay, I'm going to need to take a break here, because just needing to take a break. And when I come back, I'm going to leave these here because they're so cool and you can look at them. And after break, I'll talk about them again a little bit. But what I'll be doing after break is getting out the wash and washing this. And I'm hoping then that the colors will get toned down nicely, that the ribbing in the wings and the musculature and so on in the imp will be highlighted like it is on this one. And then we'll go from there. And just, you know, you should just never look around, because what I just saw is I missed a spot. Sorry, I need to fix that. Otherwise, I'm going to miss it. Do you think that would slow play down? And maybe it would. I mean, I don't know if it would work. It would be a real challenge for a DM to have a necromancer in the party. But I don't see that. I mean, if you've got a creative DM, you can just about do anything. One time I played, this is I really love this character. It was great fun to play. A ghost pirate bard. Ah, yeah, cleric could be a necromancer. Yep, I didn't think of that. I played clerics. Actually, like the first 3 characters I ever did were clerics. Because the power to heal is also the power to destroy. I was not necessarily a holy cleric. Okay. A little bit creepy. I was a creepy cleric. Ooh, that says something, doesn't it? I'm just going to leave that. But yeah, I think that could work. I am going to take a break now and come back and wash this and hopefully make it look pretty decent, and then paint the details on the horns and then attempt to paint the face. Spot missing there too. Thanks. Yeah, one of the things that's going to happen after the break is when I paint the details on this thing is I put on this head magnifier. Basically, they're magnifying glasses that hang down over my face, and it's always disturbing because when I look at this with whatever's left of my near vision, it looks okay, and I put on the head magnifiers, which magnifies it ×2, and everything looks awful. But then I have to resist. Okay, we should talk about that after the break. Because, and if you watch some of our streams on YouTube, part of what we do pretty well is stay in character. And we try to make it really clear to people who are watching when we step out of character. And we do that frequently by using a different voice. And then, oh yeah, just watch Nines. You should watch Nines especially. Stay in character and doing things that the character would do that the player wouldn't. Okay? And Nines does an exceptional job of that. Of staying in character and letting the character drive what's happening. Yeah, I would say there are some episodes where we get into metagaming a lot for some reason, just because of the complication of what we're getting into, or because we're just being silly, to be honest. Sometimes that just happens. And we're being silly as players and not necessarily as characters, and we want to make that clear. But one of the things, I think we're all really pretty good at being our character rather than our player. And after we had played our characters, it probably took us like 10 sessions really to nail it down. Using the character's voice. Oh, metagaming, that's a good question. Metagaming happens when you step out of character and you become a player and you talk about what's going on in the game as players. And sometimes what you're trying to do is, instead of figuring out like a puzzle or a combat as players, you're stepping out as characters. I mean, instead of doing it as characters, you step away from it and try to work it out as players. So it's not quite cheating. Okay, I wouldn't call it that, but it is having your players talk about what's going on, not as, sometimes it is sort of cheating. That's why we try not to do it. Probably the time that we do it in our stream, in our D&D campaign is when we're trying to do something fairly complicated. Okay, so we're in a sewer, and we're trying to walk down a corridor, run into a door. We're trying to unlock the door. I'm using a crowbar. We're using explosives, all sorts of things. Is sometimes it just role-playing that as characters can be really tedious, and it's really hard for the DM because the DM might not have a clue about what we're trying to do. We're just doing this random stuff as far as the DM is concerned, and the whole thing is bogging down in the detail of our kind of randomness, even though we think we know what we're doing. So sometimes what we'll do, just in order to make it clear about what we're trying to do, is we'll step out of character and describe what it is we're trying to do. Okay, what are you trying to do? We're trying to get through the bars to the other side of these bars so we can keep moving through the sewer. Okay, and that's why I'm using my crowbar, and that's why I'm using a hammer and chisel, and that's why I'm getting my explosives out, and that's why I'm doing this, and none of it's effective. And then it's even better for the audience, is sometimes they get really confused about what's going on. So that kind of metagaming is kind of benign and helpful. Some of it is just, you step out of character and you start talking about what's going on, and you try to get the DM to give you hints and that sort of thing. And that isn't really helpful. But that's what metagaming is talking about the game that you're in as your player rather than as your character. But it's really most fun acting as your character. That's why I like my Ghost Pirate Bard, because I could talk like a pirate, and I could do bardy things. But my Ghost Pirate Bard, he tore a spoken word bard, kind of like William Shatner, but as a ghost and a pirate, a dwarf ghost pirate bard, lots of things there. Oh, yeah, that's a really good point, is that as a player, you might know some things, but your character doesn't. Like if you get into a new situation, like a new town or something, or if you, like my character grew up in a forest and didn't know really anything much about cities or towns, as a player, I know what cities are and what towns are and things like that. But as a character, I didn't know any of that. So the first time I got into one, I had to be amazed and confused and all sorts of things. What would 9 know that you would want to know? I don't know. Oh, well, I've missed my break time. I'm going to now take my break. The chat can still keep going on. Well, it can't, because the break screen is going to come on. I'm going to try to take a relatively short break. I usually lie about that. That's true. Nines does play a zither. I will be back about 12:35, give or take a few minutes, probably give. So like between 12:35 and 12:40. That's what my plan is. But I will get back, and I'm going to finish this imp and then start another one after I do the detailing. Okay? See you soon. It's back. It's working. Okay. Yep, I was showing off the dungeon tiles, but now I need to get this imp to look okay. I'll put these away. And I probably should have prepared for this. We've got smoky ink that's kind of red. I don't want to use that. What I want is umber. I used to have umber wash. There it is. And so this entire thing is going to get washed in umber wash, which will make it look darker and less cartoonish. I need to get the right brush for that. One is a brush that has, you know, a fair amount of bristle on it because I want to be able to spread this around, but also in enough detail so that when I get it down near the feet, I'm going to try this one. When I get it down here, I want it on the part that's red and not on the base. Okay, so I'll give this a good stir. And then we'll see how this goes. And if it goes okay, I want to paint the little horns and tips on the things there, the wings, and then try to do the face. How that goes. And then grab a different one and pick some different colors, and a brown and a red and a purplish, and keep the same sort of color themes going. Same sort of color, whatever, you know, brown, red, purplish. A fair amount of it in the wings there to kind of go into the divots. I want it to pile up in the low spots. I'm putting a pretty heavy wash on this because the colors are really pretty bright, and I want them to tone down and get dark. And I want the stuff to puddle up in the low spots in the model so that it will really emphasize the textural elements. There's your tail. Okay, so this needs a lot of wash on it to tone it down. Yeah, that helps a lot. That makes a big difference in the color. Puddling up pretty nicely in all the places I want it puddled. I'm gonna sneeze. Apparently I'm allergic to working after break. Work. Excuse me. Yeah, so I'm not sure if you remember what this looked like before the wash, but it's definitely different now. I need to do it on the back here. It's much more demony. Impy or whatever it is. It's just going to have to dry. You always have to, you want your wash dried, right? Otherwise, you're wearing damp shirts and things. Oh, thanks for sticking around. Yeah. So I'm getting the wash on this, and it's good on this side, but there we go. Trying to get it in the opening there. Yep, bubbles. So this is going to have to dry before I can paint the face. And sometimes the wash takes a lot. So while this is drying, to pick some colors out for the next one. The vermilion turned out okay. I was kind of concerned because it's a bright color. I was kind of concerned that it would not look good, but with the wash on it, it's not too bad. Excuse me. Okay, so I need 3 colors basically. I need a brown, a red, and then blue or purple or something for the tail. I'm not sure if how the colors show up on my monitor. They are much yellower than they look in real life. But I'm going to let the wash dry and then paint the face and the horns. Clean the brush. Not let it sit in the water. It turned out okay. Not as good as Nikki's, I don't think, but it's not too bad. It's a little brighter. But we wanted some color variations. Excuse me again. Color chart, which is where to go. We have a color chart. That is lost. How about dark sand in the back? And maybe just plain old flat red. Why not? Maybe there's sort of a dark blue. Yeah, these. I'm going to try these. I mean, what the heck? Why not? What could go wrong? Everything. But so far it hasn't. Okay. So the order in which I did this before was the wings, and then the red, and the wings, and then the tail, and then the red. Yeah, I'm glad you like the music. We got into a little, like a nice business arrangement with Nakarada, who composes all of their own music. It's all Nakarada's music, and we give credit in the credits so that everybody knows that. We also use the music in our D&D stream, so that it just works really well when there's like background music, as opposed to nothing. And even if it's not like real loud or intrusive or anything, it's nice to have. We'll see how far we get on this one, and then I'll have to come back and work on finishing touches on the other one, especially the face, which could ruin the face. We'll see how steady my hand is. This is the relaxing part, because I can mess this up a little bit and then just fix it when I do the red. Just want to make sure that I cover the things that need to be covered. It's time not to paint the base, because the base can't be repainted. It's just too difficult. We have sniffles all over the place from something. I'm not sure what set that off. Allergic to game. Everybody's way too young to get that reference, Mark. There was an old TV show back in the whatevers. Might have even been the late 50s. Dobie Gillis, The Adventures of Dobie Gillis. One of his friends was Maynard G. Krebs. And Maynard G. Krebs was 1950s stereotype of a beatnik. Did not do beatnik very well. The whole beatnik part was just to say like a lot. Like, do, like, but one of his catchphrases, there's always a catch line or whatever that characters have. Like the Fonz used to go, hey. G. Krebs was... There's the possibility of having to do any kind of labor. Go. In a bitch squeaky kind of way. So that became a thing. For us when we were young, to imitate Maynard G. Krebs whenever we were asked to do something like clean the garage. Like Maynard G. Krebs, who ended up not working, we ended up having to clean the garage, despite having gone like he did. Anyway, it's a lot better if you just watch one of those episodes. I think you can, I don't know, everything's on some streaming channel. I'm sure you can get it. The episodes, we watched a couple of ones not too long ago, and they were really pretty disappointing. It was not very good. It wasn't well written. It wasn't well acted. But you know, it was 1950s, early 60s television. What can you expect? Guessing that these imps are probably going to show up in our stream. I mean, why have 7 of them if we're not going to run into a bunch of imps? Just to do it. Yeah, this brush isn't much good for anything else other than this kind of rough in, because the bristles just fall apart. Oh, there's a spot that needs to be grayed out. Bristles that splayed out touch the surface where I didn't want this color. These are turning out to not be terribly difficult to paint. The red parts are the hardest because, you know, it's just making definitive lines around edges, and the kind of steady hand detail kind of thing that it needs to, yeah, edging the wings. And then lots of places that are just hard to get to. We ended up using that fine, long, pointy brush, which worked pretty well. It let me reach into spots that were hard to reach otherwise. It's only really, other than like the horns and the teeth and the eyes, which I will eventually get to on the other one, there's only 3 colors in this, so it's not color intense like some of the ones that we do. You know, there's some that have like a dozen different colors on them. Something not terribly much bigger than this. But yeah, lots of different colors, little details, bags and buckles and weapons with hilts and little gems in the hilts and things that get highlighted. Okay, so when this dries, I'll go around the edges like I did with this one. I'll use this as the model. But I can paint the tail. Waiting for that. Okay, so relaxing painting. Just reiterate the schedule here. We go, I was gone for a couple of weeks, as I said, basically doing chores for the family, driving many, many miles, I think like 1,400 miles, I said, over a span of 2 weeks, going from one member of the family, picking up stuff and delivering it to another member of the family, and then hauling something back to another member of the family. So that was kind of interesting. They were good visits too. You know, it was good to see people and reminisce about stuff as we were, thinking about growing up. So nostalgia kind of things. And so I was gone for... Are you relaxed now? That's good. I was gone for 2 weeks, and so this was sort of suspended during that time, because I wasn't doing this, but now I'm catching up. And we're going to be this week, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday from more or less 10 until more or less 2. We got about another hour, so maybe get the red even painted on this one. More or less 10 until 2, but next week it's going to be Tuesday, Wednesday, and Friday instead of Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. So next week it's Tuesday instead of Monday. Just so everybody knows that. And for those who are just joining this for the first time, Wednesday is Submarine Wednesday. So instead of doing a dungeon tile or a minifig, I'm going to be working on a 1960s vintage Renoir cutaway nuclear missile launching submarine model. And I did that originally when I was a kid, like in grade school. The story is that one day I had neither minifigs nor dungeon tiles to paint. And it was, well, you need to stream anyway, so why don't you pick out one of those models that you bought when you retired because you thought that you were going to have time to do it. Yeah, so I did. And I decided I would go ahead and paint and put together and build this submarine. So it's an actual I'll keep backing up, right? You have to keep backing up on your story because there's always a digression. Anyway, it's hard to find these in good condition. Usually when you find them on eBay or whatever, they've already been started, or some pieces are missing or broken or whatever. So I ended up buying 3 of them, 3 original 1960s models, in order to get enough usable parts to build one. And I've been working on it forever because there's immense detail. It makes the detail on a submarine model in some places just makes these minifigs look like monochrome almost. Tiny little dials and buttons and fire extinguishers and stoves with pots and pans hanging on them. One of the things I'll be working on Wednesday is like a toolkit that's hanging on a pegboard. So you get to paint the background and then paint the tools, so you can see those. Anyway, yeah, so I never did that when I did that as a kid. I hardly painted it at all. It was just gray plastic, and that's how it was put together. But since I'm doing it now, I thought, well, I'll paint in all the detail. And it's been taking a very, very long time. I've got about a third of it done in terms of the length of the submarine. I'm hoping that it was the easy third. The rest of it does not seem to have quite as much detail as the area I'm working on now, which is where the missile tubes are. Anyway, so those of you who have been watching Relaxing Painting with Dice and Dungeons for a while know about Submarine Wednesday. Those of you who don't, join in more or less 10 this coming Wednesday, and you'll get to see an example of Submarine Wednesday as I continue to work on the missile launching room. I'll be the parts of, I need to back up to explain. The parts were not very well molded. Okay, the design is sometimes amazing in terms of the detail, but the actual production lacked. These were like injection molded, and sometimes the molds didn't come together. Sometimes they didn't fill in all the way. The parts usually don't fit. The parts that need to be glued together. So these missile tubes came in halves. They had to be glued together, and the halves don't line up, so that there's like a little ridge or a line on either side, and you don't want those. You don't want a seam showing. So I'll be spending some time filing and sanding those down so the seams don't show. Sometimes there's a gap after you glue them. The pieces don't fit well enough. So there's actually a gap showing, and that has to be filled in and then sanded. So that's going to take a while to get all of that done, but eventually it will. But you'll see that. So I'm going to be working on missile tubes, and I'll also be working on some of the control panels and things that are pretty highly detailed. Especially in the machine shop area, the steam comes out of the reactor and it goes back, and there's this like 4 compartments full of whatever, you can't even tell what they are, but that's turned into various and sundry things like electrical power for the submarine and hot water and hydrolysis, so that salt water is turned into fresh water. All of that stuff happens in the rear section of the submarine. And so there's just a whole lot of basically beige painted machines, but then there's control panels and stuff. Anyway, if you tune on Wednesday, you'll see some of that being started and missile tubes being filed and sanded. And I'll have to think of some 1960s television show to wander on about during that time. Or we could talk about our D&D campaign. Okay, what I need to do now is paint these little horns. Those will be fairly straightforward. I think I'll just stick with the same color scheme as was done here. This looks like this was... No, it's not really light gray. It looks like maybe it was ivory with a gray wash on it. Maybe even white with a gray wash on it. Maybe it was done with the white speed paint? No, it's too gray for that. That would be, that would come out to be brown. I have a really white. There it is. I'm going to just try this. I'm going to use this and then put the gray wash on it. Like it looks like Nikki did. Okay. So for those of you, oh yeah, the teeth too, I think. Teeth were done in the white. So you get to see me put on my, where are they? No, they're not in the box. There they are. Yes, these are called head magnifiers. And as who plays nines. Okay, needs to be recharged. The light's kind of dim. They don't magnify my head, but they do, at least theoretically, if I can get it focused, they make what I'm painting look a lot bigger, which means I have an opportunity to see it, and then at least theoretically, a chance to be able to paint it. Start with the easy bits. Paint these guys. They're going to be very white, but they will be very much toned down when I put gray wash on. Using sort of dark gray, almost dry brushing it, because I don't want to turn them black, but I want them to be white. Put snuff on. Details like this sometimes, I should say frequently, get off camera. Let me move it just a little. Be nearly as bright white as they are now. Yeah. Stay in focus is sometimes a little challenging, especially when there's like multiple layers of things, like the wingtips and the tail and things. Almost like a camera at that point, where it tries to focus on the spot and wrong spot. Or I don't want to focus wingtip. Yeah, that's not too bad. There's some spots that if they're not covered, that's probably okay, because the wash will mask that a little bit. And they're very bright white, but like I said, that will stop later. Let me clean this off, and then I'll try to do the teeth. The teeth are raised up. I keep very little paint on the brush.
Teeth are different on this one than the other one. I need to fix that. Need to be like just the fangs on the side and teeth in the middle. There aren't any teeth there and there. Guess that's okay. I need to get a little bit of dark red on that though. So I'm gonna, this will be a little touchy. I need to put a little vermilion there. And then some wash so that it's not so bright. Back and wash that. Nikki made these eyes yellow. It's a pretty good color for the eyes. I can find it. This, because this is the one that's out. It is to get a dot. Just a dot. To get the vermilion out and the wash out. Fix these eyeballs because they are bad. To be doing some facial reconstruction here. Yeah, this other one is not good. All right. See what I can do with this. I kind of fixed it. I do need to get the brown wash onto it carefully. Otherwise, I've just got these bright spots. So we'll do that after this dries a little bit. I'm going to get the dark gray wash.
and do the horns. This should turn these horns pretty dark. But you can still see the white undertone. Excuse me again. The thing here with the wash is to make sure that I cover all the surfaces so I don't just have bright whites sitting out there. I don't want it real uniform anyway. And that's the point of the wash, is to make it look kind of variegated, but like back here, if you get a spot that doesn't have any on it at all, it just flares out and it's bright white. The spots on the face where I had to do some red touch-up, and I need to get the brown wash out and just touch it to that so that it's dark like the rest of it. Because the wash changed the color of the vermilion pretty dramatically. That's another thing that sometimes happens after break, is I'll get cramp in my hand, mainly from holding it like this. Okay, that's okay. Now I need to get the, the umbrella, right? There's still some in here. I wonder if I can use that yet. And it's still pretty liquid. What I need to do is these spots where I did the touch-up to get a fair amount of pigment on. The pigment sort of drops to the bottom there.
It might be okay once it dries. Seems to be okay. Pretty much covered that. Okay, well, we're going to call that done. Clean this brush here. Druid. You know, Rangers are kind of fun because they're really powerful. I mean, in terms of damage dealing, as long as there's someone there to protect them. Yeah, this has a little light in it, and when the light, it needs to be recharged. There's a rechargeable battery, so I need to remember to do that. We had a ranger recently, an NPC, join our party, and it made a big difference because of the damage they can do from a distance, which can be pretty important in keeping it alive. Druids, there's so many variations that a druid can take, you know, in terms of what kind of magic it does, you know, all the nature kinds of things and the animals and the shape changing and the changes and then turning into different animals and the damages that they can do or the protection that they can do, as well as some really fun spells like healing and so on. So a ranger is more, it's not really one-dimensional, but it doesn't do that many things compared to a druid, so that might be fun. Do you have a DM? Or do you want to be no, if you're going to play, you need a DM. What was I going to do? Oh yeah, I was going to start painting this, the edges of the wings, kind of on the back. Okay, getting a sense of what needs to be done with this. Cool. You know, it's so would you be able to play in person, or are you going to have to play remotely? Are you in the same place? Just going to paint this flat red. It'll be really similar, but, you know, a little variation in the color. Or I'll be kind of lucky if I can get this red in and get the base coating done. You know, it's really not that hard. I mean, when you're with each other, it's kind of fun because, you know, you play off of each other more easily, but no, if you're playing in the stream, if you got a DM, and as you know, work as hard as you can to stay in character, it can really be pretty cool. So I hope that works out really well for you, and that the DM doesn't kill you off right away. Sometimes, you know, because of the luck of the dice, I know in our stream, the DM has set, oh, well, you know, we're going to just kind of a random encounter along the road. Nothing really serious, just something to, you know, liven up your journey. You know, so like some Knoll brigands or something will attack, and then we start rolling 1s and 3s, and the DM starts rolling 19s and 20s, and the next thing you know, being killed by something that should have taken maybe 5 minutes of diversion, just kind of almost comic relief from the journey that we were on. Your DM needs to take into account the likelihood of really bad dice rolls. Midnight Brunch is really good at bad dice rolls. And my character, the Furbog Fighter, is like renowned for bad dice rolls. But that's kind of the fun of playing, and then trying to figure out how to get through whatever you're into. It's part of the adventure. But I'm glad you're going to have a chance to do that. Should be a fun thing. So part of what you decide to do in terms of character, if you've got a choice, is, working together with your other players. Working to make sure that the team is balanced. Oh, okay. No one gets kicked out. You might get killed. That's pretty cool. So you found a DM that basically just it brings people on to join in the fun. That's really neat. That should be a lot of fun playing. Yeah, but whether you play a druid or a ranger, to some extent depends on what the other players are. If you don't have like a fighter or a barbarian or something, to stand up close to things and take punishment, you might want to consider that. But if you do, then I think either one of those. But in terms of playing, as a player, I think playing a druid would be the most fun. It gets a little more complicated because, you have to pick your spells and so on. But if it's also a good way to learn. By picking a character type like that, and then figuring out how to do it. Especially if your DM is kind of patient and knows that you're learning. Yeah, it's great that you're going to have an opportunity to do that. You have a chance. Why don't you check out some of the old YouTubes of some of our streams, some of our episodes. The Dice and Dungeons ones. I think you might find them kind of entertaining. It's not, there isn't a lot of combat sometimes. We're not real combat centric. There's some pretty intense boss fights, though. But we have a lot of fun playing our characters, and trying to be our characters as well, which is kind of fun. It's going pretty until it didn't. Sometimes it's just not possible to get the brush where you want it to go. Nice long bristles on this brush, and the fact that the tip is staying coherent, which is kind of nice, is helping. The fact that the paint is flowing nicely, which is also a nice thing. That doesn't always happen. Sometimes the paint just is too thick and it won't stick, too thin and it runs all over. At the moment, at least, this is pretty much just staying where I want it. Thing that always happens is I just bump the brush into where I didn't want it. There's always that, you know, just, oh, things are going okay, and then they're not. And that, if I remember to fix the part where I put the paint where it shouldn't have gone, it was a little oh. And, you know, having been gone for a while, I have not been effectively lobbying for my oh buttons. Just, I've got a little stream deck here that lets me start the show and break and end it. But what I need is 2 oh buttons, a big oh and a little oh. When I do things like put the paint where I don't want it, that one was there. It was actually just a little oh. The big oh is like spilling the paint. That would definitely be a big oh. Checking to make sure I'm getting parts of the wings that I need to on the front end and the back. Back of this. When I first started using this brush, it just wasn't working for me at all, but I've come to kind of like it because it gives me pretty good control of where the paint goes, but it also reaches. And sometimes that's The hardest part is reaching in this particular model. There's a lot of places that need reaching. Necessarily have to be careful because they're not bordering one color against another. Like where I'm painting right there, it's just like it's underneath here. How do you get paint like behind the arm and over the leg and stuff like that? It's just never have been painted on a PLA printer. The rosin printer is able to do amazing detail with lots of nooks and crannies, especially in this case, crannies. I have to say there's many crannies here. It is kind of impossible not to have fun. Yeah, you can. You can, in fact, attack your own party members. I mean, there's nothing to keep you from doing that. It does not encourage team cohesiveness or cooperation in the face of a common enemy. But if you really wanted to, you can do that. Sometimes you can do it as a humor thing, you know. I mean, that's a possibility too. Is just use I mean, you don't want to cast a fireball at your whole party, especially if you're a higher level. You could just do a TKP, a total party kill, TPK, sorry. And that probably wouldn't make you very popular. But there's nothing to prevent you from doing that. In fact, sometimes there are some spells where it just happens, like Fireball. I just mentioned that. If you cast a Fireball, it will do damage to whatever is in range, even if it's a party member, even if it's a friendly. So you have to, before doing that, you have to be really careful in terms of, you know, checking out your ranges and the location where you cast the spell, the fireball, to make sure that your party members aren't going to be obliterated. I mean, it's a spell you might have to cast in order to save the party, but the idea is to save the party, not to immolate it. So yeah, I mean, either intentionally or just as, you know, friendly fire kind of fallout, because of the spell you cast, you can cause damage to your own party members. Sometimes, you know, sometimes you have to. But I think there are spells, you know, maybe probably you won't want to run into these except at a much higher level, probably. You've experienced that allows an enemy, usually it would have to be a boss, a pretty powerful one, to take control of a character. So you might have a situation where the thing that you're doing battle with your boss fight, cast that spell on one of your party members, and that party member then becomes antagonistic and starts attacking you, and you might have to attack back. Hopefully that won't happen, but if it does, you have to make that choice. You know, whether to defend yourself against the party member that's been controlled, or like continuing to attack the boss that's controlling your party member, hopefully more quickly than not, killing them or disabling them so that the spell is broken. Usually it's a spell like that would be a concentration spell. So you'd have to like break the concentration of the enemy. Me? No, my code would prevent me from attacking a teammate. The only possible circumstance would be as I'm talking about now, if one of the team members was like mind controlled and I needed to not necessarily kill them, but if say Zoria was mind controlled and started attacking Nines, and Nines doesn't have the greatest defense, I might for example decide to roll an attack against Zoria just to break the concentration. No. But no, my character has a code of conduct, and it would definitely not be consistent with that code to attack a party member. Nines, on the other hand, the Tabaxi Bard, probably like, what the heck? That sounds like fun. Let's just go ahead and do that. And then steal a pie. And then be executed. He's finishing his base coat just about in time to end the stream. So, in anticipation of that, I want to thank everybody who joined in on this stream of Relaxing Painting with Dice and Dungeons. As a reminder, I am, at least for the time being, back from travels, and so we'll be painting again on Wednesday, Submarine Wednesday coming up. Working on that vintage submarine. I will be spending a good deal of time again, as I usually do, explaining what I'm doing and why. Well, in terms of that submarine, it's been a while, so I'll probably show off what I've done so far, so people can see what has been completed and what yet needs to be done. And then on Friday, I will be back painting imps. Probably finishing this guy up. After I get the base coat on, I'll be putting the wash on. I'll be doing that on Friday. And then messing up the face like I did on this other one, because that seems to be the thing to do. Paint on the parts that are really hard to reach, at least from the angle I'm using. Rotating the model. Yeah, rotating is really important, because then you see I mean, obvious spots like behind the leg here. It didn't get painted. This is looking pretty well base coated. You know, not perfect, but adequate. This color combination, when it isn't, it's not going to be all that different from this, is it? No, it's going to look pretty similar. Well, it's okay because they're all in the same imp squadron or whatever imps are in, so they should all look pretty much similar. It's the whole top of the head and the back of the ear. Come back Friday, I'll probably find some other spots that I missed, but I'll just give this a quick rotation, and then I'm going to pull out that, what did I use, dark sand, just to touch up a couple of these little spots that I'm still, that need to be touched up while I'm still remembering to do that. And then, yeah, Submarine Wednesday, please join us for that. And then, again, on Friday, be starting at pretty close to 10 and going until 2, like today. And then next week, it will be Tuesday, Wednesday, Friday instead of Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Okay, well, if I miss some spots, they will have to wait till Friday when I take a look at it again. I'm going to have to use some solvent on this. I'll clean that after the stream, but I need a touch of this to get the spots that need to be covered up. These are mainly spots that got bumped by the brush on its way somewhere else. That's the major source of OO. The major source of OO is bringing the brush up to the work and bumping it into a place that becomes an OO. There we go. I think this is okay. Clean this off and I will recap. So hopefully you'll come back on Wednesday and check out Submarine Wednesday. It should be kind of fun. So this is the one that Nicole did. This is the one I finished today. I think it came out okay. I think it looks all right. The inner color is a little lighter, so I might do a darker one again later, but the red came out right. And then this is the one I'm working on now, which despite the difference in the base colors is going to end up looking almost the same. What can you say? I mean, sometimes that just happens. So it was worth trying different colors just to see how it would go, and now I'm finding out. So Wednesday is Submarine Wednesday. I'll be working on the Renwall Cutaway nuclear missile launching submarine and talking about that and why I'm doing it. And then on Friday, I'll be coming back to this imp and doing the wash and then the detailing. And then I've got 4 more of them that I will do in similar combinations of tanner brown, red, and whatever the tail color turns out to be. So thanks again for joining in today, and hopefully we'll see everybody on
Yep. See everybody on Wednesday and Friday and Tuesday, Wednesday, Friday next week. Yeah, they're little like baby demons, I guess. Whoa, what happened to these? What? Oh, yuck. Okay, that's going to require some major cleanup. Something spilled on my glasses. Lovely. But so I can't see out of them any better than I can see with them. So thanks again, and see you all on Submarine Wednesday, more or less at 10 until more or less at 2, as I make slow but steady progress on the Renwall nuclear submarine launch. Bye.